Hi everyone, welcome to History 448, the history of modern Russia, here at Eastern Oregon University. My name is Professor Philip Travis, and I'm going to be your guide in this class, and I'm very excited about this class. This course, we're going to primarily be examining Russia during the period of Soviet communism. So we're going to begin this class with the tail end, the end of the Tsarist period in Russia, the end of the Russian Tsars, and the rise of the Soviet Union following the Bolshevik Revolution. And we will talk about the Soviet Union throughout the 20th century until its demise, really in 1991, not long after the fall of the Berlin Wall, but really the final collapse under the period of Mikhail Gorbachev in 1991. And then, of course, we will, at the end of the class, take this all the way up to present. And I think we will find this to be a really fascinating subject. The 20th century, first of all, was really shaped, probably more than anything else, beyond the world wars, of course. The 20th century was probably shaped most by the interactions between the Soviet Union and the United States. And of course, even today, of course, Russia, its involvement with the Middle East, the Russian involvement with Europe, Russia's involvement with the United States remains really at the centerpiece of world affairs. And so I think we will find this chronology of the development of the Soviet Union and its role in creating, modern Russia. I think we'll find incredibly fascinating and enlightening to our understanding of modern Russia today and its relation to the world. So I'm really excited about this class. I think we'll really you'll learn a lot in this class, and so I'm very excited for this. This is meant to be a welcome announcement. So let me just point out what text we will be reading in the class. Your primary textbook looks something like this, though the cover could vary depending on the edition you have. Our primary text is A History of Modern Russia. It comes from Cambridge University Press by Robert Service. We will also be looking at this book by William Taubman on Nikita Khrushchev. Khrushchev, of course, was the Soviet premier following the death of Joseph Stalin, and he became associated with ushering in the period of de-Stalinization, which began to sort of demonstrate some of the fractures that were potentially existing in the Soviet Union in the 1950s and early 1960s. And of course, it was long before the collapse under Mikhail Gorbachev. But Nikita Khrushchev's period as a Soviet premier, because of the ramifications of de-Stalinization, really revealed a lot of the cracks in the sort of totalitarian state, the totalitarian Soviet empire. And in that way, it was sort of a precursor to the ultimate collapse of the Soviet Union in the 1980s and early 90s in the leadership of Mikhail Gorbachev. We're also going to look at the essential works of Lenin. This is, of course, a collection of works by Vladimir Lenin, and in that sense, it's a primary source, and it gives us a unique view into understanding the thinking and the ideas of the principal architect of the Soviet Union, which emerged in the latter period of World War I and at the end of the teens, the second decade of the 20th century. And so that's kind of a primary source reader for us to help us sort of understand the thinking and rationale of the principal architect of the Soviet Union as it emerged in the teens and 20s of the 20th century. The way this class is organized, of course, you have this welcoming announcement. You have to go through the Getting Started modules. But the way the class is organized is it goes week by week. Every week you have a different module. And I open the modules every Sunday. So this week you'll do Getting Started module, and then you'll do week 1. And then on Sunday I'll open up week 2, and so on and so forth. We have 2 tests in the class. There's a midterm and a final. We also write a research paper in the course. And for the research paper, you have to submit a paper proposal. And I have all the materials guiding you on how to do that in the class. Those will not only at the end of the syllabus is information for the paper, but how to do a paper proposal. You'll have plenty of information in terms of how to understand how to do that. I look for you to have a list of potential research materials. I have you write an introduction to the paper, come up with a thesis statement, and what kind of important questions, in addition to the subject, that you hope to answer. And we will talk more about that research paper as the class moves forward. So your major assignments are the 2 tests, the midterm and the final, which are open book and open notes. And I do provide some, usually I'll provide some study material for that. Because it's open note, open book, I usually limit it to letting you know the subject for the essay question. The test will always have, each test always has at least one major essay on it. And a lot of times I'll say, you know, the topic for the essay will loosely be centered around, you know, this subject, and that'll help you to study for that. Though please never attempt to pre-write an essay. I want you to write all the essays while you take the test. So a midterm and a final, and then we have a paper proposal and a research paper. They obviously work together. The idea of the paper proposal is to act as a stepping stone to writing the actual research paper. In addition to that, 10% of the grade in the class is made up by the discussion forum. Every week you have a discussion forum, and what I'm looking for you to do in the discussion forum is to engage the reading, as well as I give video lectures every week. And so I have recorded lectures. They're generally PowerPoints that are uploaded to YouTube that I create. And you can watch those lectures. It will really help you grasp the subject material. And some of this material can be pretty dense at times. Excuse me. So be sure to watch those lectures. Every week I have a lecture in there for you. You watch that lecture, and it'll help you prepare for the test. It'll help you think about your paper. And so each week in the discussion forum, I want you to engage in a conversation that relates to the material from my recorded lecture that week, which is in addition to these video announcements, and also to the reading. So the question I ask you will be directly relevant to the reading and the weekly lecture. And I want to see us have an academic and respectful discussion each week in the discussion forum on the topic of the prompt that was posed. Remember to always be respectful. In the discussion forum, I want students to post once and reply twice during the week. I want to see activity over 2 separate days, and I want it to start no later than Thursday. So make sure you do something by Thursday. It doesn't have to be the most epic post of all time. If you're just getting a handle on it, it could be something very short. It could be a reply to somebody. I just want to see activity by Thursday. And then I want to see 1 post and 2 replies, 2 days of activity. Hopefully that's pretty simple. Just make sure you've done something by Thursday, and make sure when it's all said and done, you have 1 post, 2 replies to classmates over 2 separate days, and you'll get full credit for that. Remember to always be respectful in the discussion forum. We have some quizzes in the class as well, and the quizzes also amount to 10% of your grade. Make sure you go through the syllabus. There is a kind of short quiz, and some of that information is drawn from the syllabus, so make sure you look over the syllabus. Every week I do a video announcement like this, and I do these video announcements because it kind of gives you a feel for me, gives you the opportunity to see your professor, and it also gives me the opportunity to talk history with you, and also give you an idea for in terms of what's coming up during the week, what's coming up the next week, what should we be preparing for, what should we be thinking about is another major reason why I do these video announcements. And I do one of these announcements every week, so I want you watching these. And to encourage you to watch these, I offer extra credit. And the extra credit is simple. And I'm almost done. So I know these go on sometimes 10 minutes, but I'm almost done. The way the extra credit works is pretty easy, and it's fun. So every week, starting next week, so there won't be an extra credit for this announcement, but it'll start next week. Every announcement, I will give you a historical factoid that's relevant to the topic that we're dealing with in the class. I try to find factoids that are less well known. And so I'll give you a historical factoid, and all you have to do is email me that factoid no later than Wednesday by midnight. Each factoid counts for 1 point. So starting next week, you have the opportunity for 9 points. If you do all of them, I give you a bonus point. You get 10 points. Okay? So you could get as many as 10 extra credit points by doing these factoids. At the end of the term, I take the 10 points and I add them to one of your test scores. So if you have a 78 in a test, it becomes an 88 at the end of the term. And the difference in terms of your grade can be a grade point. It's like 3 percentage points on a final grade. So it could take you from a C to a B to an A. It can really be significant. And it's just, I want to encourage folks to watch the announcements. You get a feel for me and my personality. You get to get a feel for what's coming up in the course and how to do things right. You also, get exposed to some really fun and interesting factoids of history. So all you have to do starting next week is watch these opening announcements. Watch it before Wednesday, or on Wednesday for that matter. When I tell you what the historical factoid is, just email me that factoid no later than Wednesday by midnight. I'll take your little email, I'll put it in a special folder, and boom, you get tabulated for 1 point. That's added to a test score at the end of the term. I won't always respond to your emails. Everybody's sending me factoids. I only respond to the factoids if you ask me a question, or you say, wow, that was really interesting. What do you think about this, Dr. Phil? So sometimes I respond. Usually I won't. If you just state the factoid, I don't expect a response from me, but I am receiving them. But it's a really fun way to get extra points. You get to see my face. I get to see my personality. And we get to learn some fun factoids as well as stay informed. Just make sure you send me the email no later than Wednesday by midnight to get your bonus point for that week. And we'll start that next week. Okay. If anybody has any, you need to talk with me, by the way. And there's a lot of familiar students in this class, which is great to see. So I know a lot of this is probably redundant to some of you, but not everybody. So if you ever need to talk with me, like on the phone, just send me an email and set up an appointment. I'm always available to meet and discuss the class with students. So if you need to talk about anything related to the class, make sure you reach out to me. Send me an email. If you need to talk with me on the phone, that's fine. We can set up a phone conversation to discuss matters related to the class. I think we're going to have a lot of fun in this class. It's an incredibly fascinating subject. It's relevant not only to the 20th century, but obviously it's relevant very much so to the 21st century. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun understanding the development and the experience involved in the emergence of modern Russia. All right, everyone. Let's have a great week. That was a bit long. I think that might be the longest opening announcement I've ever done. So the other announcements shouldn't be that long. Usually I say that and then they get long. But I'll try to keep them under 10 minutes. But let's have a great term. And let me know if you have any questions. I will see you in the discussion forum this week after you complete the Getting Started module at the beginning of the week. So let's have a great term, everyone.